What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And we are now a day after the fallout of the Robert Quinn trade. Matt Eberflus has spoken on it a little bit, kind of giving us an insight on what his mindset is now going forward with the defensive end position. And we'll talk about how this is signaling the future of the Chicago Bears defense. We're also going to talk about some of the keys that the Bears can use to find success against the Dallas Cowboys in Sunday's game. We'll get into all that and some more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
All right, Bears fans. So Matt Eberflus was asked, and he was questioned about the move of just deciding to go ahead and trade Robert Quinn. And while it was a heavy decision for him, I don't think he takes it lightly at all. He had these comments to say. There's the emotional side, the human part of it. You're affecting not only a man, but his family. You kind of shaking that all up, and I don't take that lightly at all, and I'm sensitive to that. I value, and I think I've talked about this a lot, the locker room and what it means and the culture. It sucks to mess with that, to be completely honest with you. But again, my job is to do what's best for the organization, not only now, but in the future. I felt like that was the best move for us to make. And so some of the things that play into this, right, and even he's talked about it before, is one of the reasons he was confident to go ahead and make this move was the performance of the younger players on this team. And while, yes, we all knew this was a real rebuilding season for the Chicago Bears that was signaled in the offseason when we traded away or did not re-sign a number of our veteran players, but you now have players in Trevis Gipson and Domonique Robinson who they've just played better than the veterans out there. And it seems like that the Bears are going more towards using those players a little bit more. I don't know if they're going to start both of them. I think they should. You guys already know how I feel about that. I think Trevis Gipson and Domonique Robinson should be the starters out there, especially when you look at the impact that they've both been able to make in limited snaps already. Trevis Gipson already with 2 sacks on the season and 7 solo tackles. He has 11 total tackles on the season so far. And again, that's more than what Robert Quinn was giving you as being the starter. And yes, Trevis Gipson is in his 3rd year. He's 25 years old, but listen, this is a big opportunity for Trevis Gipson to step up, show that he's a big part, but it all comes back to the rookie and Domonique Robinson, who was a 5th-round pick by the Chicago Bears, picked number 174 overall, and he's played in 7 games. He has 12 total tackles, 8 solo tackles, 4 assisted, 1.5 sacks so far. This man is balling, and he has shown that he deserves a chance and an opportunity to get more looks. And I'm thankful and happy that this now does open up an opportunity for him to be a starter, open up an opportunity for him to develop and really jump-starting, and I wouldn't even necessarily say jump-starting, but giving him a more opportunity to develop in Domonique Robinson. You could have a stud there. Not to say that he's ever going to be able to give you what Robert Quinn did last season, but you're looking at a solid edge who has shown his ability to stand up and to fight through some adversity and just work himself being up. He has the potential to be an impact player for the Chicago Bears for years and years and years to come. And so you have to invest in that. That's what this season was always about when it comes to the Chicago Bears. It's not just trying to find a way to get as many wins now, even though this team is playing for wins, but it was to develop, right? It was to see if you can find value in the draft picks that you had, if you can find value in unexpected places. And Domonique Robinson is the perfect example of that. Yes, we drafted him, number 5, a 5th-round pick. But the way that he's been playing and the impact that he's been having has been better than anything that we've had, basically, starting on the defensive end for the Chicago Bears. And so I like to see that invested in. I like to see that youth, that exuberance, that just drive to be invested in. And he deserves to have that time invested in him. Domonique Robinson deserves to start the rest of the season, I feel, and to really get an extended look at him. So as you go into next offseason and make acquisitions, make other things, you know what you have in a player like him. And like I said, Trevis Gipson as well, who I still highly believe in Trevis Gipson as well, being only 25 years old, only a year older than our rookie and Domonique Robinson. These 2 young studs on the defensive end have a chance to turn into impact players for the Chicago Bears. And when you have a team that, yes, is going to have a lot of cap space, they still have a lot of positions to fill. If one, or God forbid, both of these players turn into impact and starters for the Chicago Bears next season, that you can go in and say, hey, listen, we got 2 young defensive ends that we're going to bet on, that we believe in, that's going to bode well for this team overall. And for Ryan Poles' comments on saying he's also trying to build towards the future, that's not a mindset that a lot of fans appreciate sometimes. Fans right now, we live in a microwave society. They want it now, but it's the right mindset to have that Ryan Poles is adopting on. It's not just the now. I have to look towards the future. You have to build towards the future. You can get so caught up in the now that you end up completely fucking up your future, just to be frank, by just worrying about the now. And Trevis Gipson and Domonique Robinson have big chances to be part of the Chicago Bears future for a long time to come. You add to that Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, who's coming on a little bit more as well. The young future of the Chicago Bears defense is bright. And I think sometimes that goes overlooked. Like, the defense has played very consistent. It's been way more consistent than the offense. But it's easy to forget that we still have a lot of room for growth on that defensive end of the ball because of how young some of these players are. Yes, we have a nice mix of veteran players and youth. But those youth, the players with youth, we've barely scratched the surface of a lot of those players. And as we look to really try to build this thing up into being a contender sooner rather than later, you also have to look towards the future. And I'm labeling Domonique Robinson as of right now, right? Things can go left. Let's be clear here. Things can go left. But as of right now, I do think that Domonique Robinson is and should be looked at as a big part of the future for the Chicago Bears, period. That's how I look at it. Now, as talking about the future, and even Poles talking about building towards the future, we did get a 4th-round pick in this. So now, where the Bears sit at right now with their draft compensation next season, we have our own 1st-round pick, we have our own 2nd-round pick, our own 3rd-round pick, our own 4th-round pick. We have the additional 4th-rounder now from the Eagles. We have a 5th round and a 7th-round pick. That is, considering how Ryan Poles drafted, considering how he's found talent like a Domonique Robinson in the 5th round that now we're looking at as becoming the starter for this team, I trust that Poles is going to find talent. Are all of them going to hit? No, it'd be ridiculous to assume that all of those draft picks hit. But with Ryan Poles and what he's showing and his eye on talent, it's safe to say that a nice chunk of those may very well hit. And then if you look at, like, also, if we can become a destination, and because we are going to have a lot of money to offer players, we could be seeing this team. And the NFL, I've always said this: the NFL is better equipped to go from nothing to something in a quicker turnaround than a lot of sports. It takes years in basketball usually, unless you get lucky, right? You guys know I cover the Bulls as well. Unless you get lucky and you just hit on a draft pick, or you get lucky and you trade for that disgruntled star. With football, as many impact positions as they are, you are quicker, or you have a chance to more quickly turn your team around. And at least right now, the way that I feel about Ryan Poles and what he's done so far, I'm all for, all aboard. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, if you want to say it, to a degree, right? Still some questionable things that we see on this team overall, but I'm really, really liking what we're doing so far with this team and building towards the future. All right, enough talking about the future. Let's talk about the now for the Chicago Bears. Then as of right now, the injury report isn't as clean as what it has been. Lucas Patrick is being moved to the IR. Matt Eberflus did announce that. It looks like right tackle Larry Borom has a concussion. He did not practice at all yesterday. The Bears have their first full practice today. It's looking more than likely not, especially if he goes into protocol, that Larry Borom is probably not going to be playing Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I could be wrong in that. I'm not reporting that. Nobody said that. This is pure speculation from me. But do not be surprised, especially with it being feared to be a concussion, that he may not play against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, what does that mean? That means that we're already missing Lucas Patrick, right? Cody Whitehair is down, and now Borom. Listen, for a team that we need our offensive line to be locked in, it can get very interesting for this team against the Dallas Cowboys if this ends up being true. Again, I don't want to scare anyone. I'm not saying this to scare anyone, but just kind of where my thoughts are right now. And we'll see where it ends up going. But I do want to talk about some of the things, and I know we're not quite at the point of doing our prediction show yet. Be on the lookout for me, C-Dub, and Bobby to drop that. But I want to look at some of the keys offensively for the Chicago. We already know the offensive line, so I'm not going to mention that in this one. But to find success against the Dallas Cowboys, this Bears team is going to have to pound the ball. They're going to have to run the ball. And I think with the addition of design runs for Justin Fields and adding that extra wrinkle into this offensive game, as we kind of alluded to when we went live last night, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this run game continues to evolve with Khalil Herbert, with David Montgomery, with Justin Fields. We're going to have to run the ball effectively. If we can get towards our averages, which we're averaging 180 yards per game, if we can do that, if we can have a solid rushing attack and Justin Fields can play well again, we can find some success. Another key that's going to be to this game is the play calling from Luke Getsy. He showed against the Patriots that he can call a game. There's been some questions from me. There's been some questions from others. There's been some questions from some of you on Luke Getsy's play calling. But as we go further into the season, as the trust builds, and as this team has been making incremental improvements over the last 3 or 4 weeks, we're seeing Luke Getsy open up that offense, get more creative. I already talked about yesterday in the fact of him stealing Lamar Jackson plays to try to find a way to unlock Justin Fields. If we keep seeing the evolution of Luke Getsy's game in this Dallas Cowboys game, we can find, again, like I said against the Patriots, I'm not labeling it saying we can get a win. I'm saying we can find some success. What that success turns into is up to the team. But Luke Getsy's play calling is going to be highly important for what this team can do as well. And then also field position. And that's where the defense comes in at. If this defense can play like they played overall throughout the Patriots game, but especially in that second half of the Patriots game and get the Bears good field position, we have a chance, right? It's not going to be easy. Going into Dallas, or are we at home? Can't remember. Playing against Dallas is not going to be easy at all. We got to try to avoid Dak Prescott from having a big game. We have to. We have to avoid that. It's no questions on that. This pass rush, Domonique Robinson, who I think has benefited the most from the Robert Quinn trade, is going to have to show up. Him, Trevis Gipson, with the additional snaps, they're going to have to show up. They're going to have to make their presence felt. We're going to have to get pressure on the Dak Prescott and hopefully knock him down some as well. Lamb, the wide receiver, got to disrupt him as well. They're going to pick on Kyler Gordon again. Can Kyler Gordon step up like he did last game and continue to show improvement on his side of the ball? I don't know if Zeke is playing or not, but either him or Tony Pollard, we got to look out for that running game as well. The defense cannot let them carve them up on the defensive side of the ball. And then on the Cowboys defense, I'm looking at Micah Parsons. We cannot let him, but they're going to pack the box against us, as we all know. That's what she said, by the way. But as we all know, we have to be on the lookout for that. We have to, and considering that we are going to have some big, potentially, we're already going to be missing Lucas Patrick. We may be missing Larry Borum too. Missing some of our starters in that starting offensive line, how they stand up and deal with Parsons. Whew. I don't know, man. I don't know. And that's not even to mention Armstrong as well. Like, they're going to come for Justin Fields. They're going to try to pack the lane against that run. Man, I just don't know. I don't know. But that is it for today. I also want to announce that C-Dub and Bobby will be doing the first ever live call here on Chicago Bears Central, where they will be live during the game, calling the game. So if you want to come in during the game, hang out, chat, listen to them call the game, do that. That is a completely new venture on this channel. We've never done a live call before. I will not be on the live call because that's just not my skill set. But C-Dub and Bobby are going to hold it down, so make sure you guys support them as well. But that is it for today. Make sure you're following the show at Chi Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are in the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.